My name is Alex. I'm a 30-year-old woman who has recently gone through a lot. It's been a while since all of this has happened, but somehow it still feels like it just happened yesterday. I wanted to talk about it to someone other than my family and friends, so here I am. Let me start from the beginning. I was born very late into the family, as in my sister was 16 when I was born. Because of the large age gap, we never really had a close sisterly bond, although my sister did coddle me a lot. My sister pretty much considered me like I was her own kid instead of her sister. By the time I was old enough to retain any memories, my sister was off to college. When I was 10 years old, I attended my sister's wedding. My sister was already pregnant at the time of her wedding, so aside from the excitement of attending my sister's wedding, I was also excited to meet my niece and have another kid to play with. 5 months after the wedding, my niece, Tori, was born. I still vividly remember visiting my little niece in the hospital right after my sister had given birth to her. I remember the excitement I felt when I saw Tori's face and the immense amounts of love I felt rush through me. After Tori came back home, I would try and spend as much time as I could with my sister so I could look after Tori. And as the years passed, my love for Tori only grew. Whenever my sister needed help with babysitting, I would always offer when I was old enough. Rather than considering each other as aunt and niece, Tori and I considered each other siblings. This is why when I had to move to a different state, Florida, to study and work, it was really hard for both of us. But I made sure to always call back home and keep in touch with my family, especially Tori. Our bond was not broken by the distance between us. It was in my last year of university that I met my husband, Caleb. Caleb was the star football player of the university. I don't know how I managed to catch his eye to this day because I was never one for sports. I spent most of my days reading in the library. Still, Caleb had managed to find me one day and struck up a conversation with me. What I loved most about him was how confident and charming he was. Caleb later told me after we were together for a while that he was nervous to talk to me, but I would never have gotten that from the way that he so confidently walked over to me and started talking. We went on multiple dates and quickly realized that despite our different interests, we both fit well together. Funnily enough, we both share the same sense of humor. So all of those dates we went on, we spent all of our time just making each other laugh so hard that our bellies hurt. We quickly made our relationship official. If there was one thing that I always made clear to him was my love for my family. So Caleb got to meet my family over many video calls. The only person I never told about Caleb was my niece. So Caleb had practically met everyone of importance in my family, except Tori. Although I did talk to him about her a lot, one day, Caleb asked me why he never got to meet my niece, who I talked about so much. Babe, I haven't introduced you to Tori because she's just 11. I want to protect her innocence from my adult life.
I don't think 11 is too young. I'd like to meet her and be part of her life too.
Tori's the most important person to me, but she's still a child. She doesn't need to be involved in my romantic life.
It feels like you're keeping me separate because you doubt our relationship's future.
What? That's not true at all.
You're afraid of introducing me to Tori in case things don't work out between us. You don't want to introduce her to someone who won't be a constant.
Babe, you've got it all wrong. It's about protecting her, not doubting us.
Alright, fine, let's drop it.
Please understand, I see a long future for us. I'm just not ready to mix our worlds yet. I understood why Caleb was upset, but I just didn't want to involve Tori in this part of my life yet. I wanted to protect Tori's innocence, even though I knew I wasn't really doing that. In my mind, Tori was still that baby I met in the hospital, and I wanted to keep it that way at least until Tori was an actual teenager. 2 years after we graduated from college, Caleb asked me to move in with him. I happily agreed. I was more than excited to live with the man I was so madly in love with. During this time, I had also met all of Caleb's family. Caleb was still a little butthurt about me never having told Tori about him, but he chose to let it go. Instead of bringing it up, I knew he was butthurt because he would briefly bring it up, 'before dropping it altogether. When Tori turned 13, I waited a couple of months before telling her about Caleb. We had gotten on a video call one day while Caleb was out on a run. Tori, I've got something to share with you.
What's up?
I have a boyfriend.
Really? Oh my gosh, spill the details!
His name is Caleb. We met in college and have been together since my senior year.
Is he a good guy?
He's the best. You'll love him.
I can't wait to meet him then.
Well, actually, we were planning to come for Thanksgiving.
Wait, seriously?
I've got bad timing, huh? What do you mean? I got into that boarding high school I've been raving about for ages. I need to be there next month.
That's amazing, Tori. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, but I won't be around for Thanksgiving. Don't worry about it. I'm planning on marrying Caleb anyway, so you'll have plenty of time to meet him.
You're already planning weddings, huh? I love it!
We spent the next half an hour excitedly talking about Tori's new school. I learnt that Tori only got summers off, but now that Caleb and I were working, we couldn't just take off like that to go to meet her. And when Tori was at the school, she wasn't allowed electronics for too long. Tori was fine with that because she knew that the school had many extracurricular activities that would both keep her occupied and tire her out at night. I was excited for Tori to experience new things. When Caleb came back, I told him of the call. Once again, he was disappointed he managed to miss meeting Tori, but he felt better that I was ready to introduce him. He didn't mind waiting because now he knew that I was not purposely hiding him away from the most important person in my life. A couple of months later, while we were visiting Alex's family for Thanksgiving, Caleb decided to propose to me. I couldn't have thought about a better time for Caleb to have proposed to me. I love how he knew how I always wanted my family to be there during my big moments. I said yes with the biggest smile and with tears streaming down my face. We got married within the next year. Tori obviously heard the news and was able to send a text congratulating me. Caleb and I spent the next year planning the wedding to the T. We wanted everything to be perfect. Because Tori would still be at school, there was no way for her to be there at the wedding. Obviously, I was crushed that she couldn't make it, but I knew that I valued Tori's education over an event as simple as a wedding. Plus, Caleb consoled me by telling me that we could have a small ceremony after Tori graduates to replicate our wedding. The wedding was a grand affair. Everyone laughed and cried. I felt like I was the luckiest girl alive. The love and support I had on that day was unimaginable. I truly believed that the rest of my life was going to be blissful because I would get to spend it with Caleb. Well, it was true for the first year of our marriage. Then things started to go downhill. We both worked stable 9-to-5 jobs. We made good money and were able to live comfortably. We were never big fans of having children, so we didn't have to plan for it either. So it came as a surprise when Caleb asked to take up overtime one night while we were lying in bed.
Babe, there's something I need to talk to you about.
What's up?
I've actually been thinking about taking up overtime at work.
Overtime? Why the sudden interest?
I've been aiming for a promotion for a while now, and the extra money could help us.
I love that you're passionate and ambitious, but we're already comfortable.
I know, but I think we can do even better.
Babe, I love our time together. I love just lazing around with you after work and on weekends. It means a lot to me.
I value that too, but I see the potential for more.
It's not about potential, it's about quality of life.
And I want to enhance our quality of life through hard work.
I respect your choices, but I'm not happy with this decision.
I'm doing what's best for both of us, babe.
He then turned around and turned out the light after wishing me good night. I was left awake with my thoughts. I felt upset that Caleb had made a decision behind my back, especially one like this. I knew we did not need extra money because both of us were able to put aside a good amount of money every month individually. We had made smart investments and we had our retirement funds already set up. We lived comfortably despite it all. I didn't know what to make of it, but I figured that as long as Caleb was happy, I would be happy. The next few months were torture for me. Caleb would come home at late hours and would usually be too tired to do anything. He would eat dinner and then go straight to sleep. Caleb would work on Saturdays and he'd spend Sundays sleeping. I barely saw him properly on most days. I missed spending time with my husband. I kept trying to talk to him out of working so much, but he always brushed me off and told me that this was for our benefit. Eventually, after 6 months of this torture, Caleb did get promoted. I thought that with this promotion, Caleb would be given a lot more flexibility with his timings. Well, that did happen. Caleb now had to constantly go on various business trips. Every other week he was flying out of state for business. Got to a point where it felt like I wasn't even living with my husband, but rather with a roommate. I didn't know what to do. 1 month, Caleb hadn't been home for longer than 2 days, and that was my tipping point. I broke down in front of Caleb and asked him why he never spent time with me anymore.
Seriously, Alex, you're being so dramatic.
I'm not being dramatic. I'm just expressing my feelings.
Well, you're being selfish. I'm working hard for a better life for us.
I never asked for any of that. All I want is time with you. The simple things we used to do.
Right, because sitting on the couch watching junk TV is so fulfilling. Stop being ungrateful.
You're calling me ungrateful? I appreciate your hard work, but it's tearing us apart.
If I waited for you to tell me what to do, I'd be stuck doing nothing in life.
Do you really think I'm holding you back?
You settle for less. You're happy if you have the bare minimum. I'm not like that. I want more from life.
I'm not settling. I'm content with what we have because it's enough for me.
And that's your problem. You're too lazy to chase after better things.
I'm not greedy, Caleb. I value what's important over constantly working myself to the bone.
You just don't get it, do you?
He then left me standing there. He stormed out of the house. I was left with a swell of emotions. How could Caleb treat me that way? How could he look at me that way? What happened to the man who looked at me like I was the light of his life? Now, whenever he looked at me, all I saw was disappointment in his eyes. I just let it be for a while. Eventually, Caleb went so frequently on his business trips that he barely lived with me. My hurt numbed me entirely. I stopped talking to everyone as I sank further into my depression. What pulled me out of my depression was a call from an unknown number. Initially, I ignored the calls, but they were so persistent that I picked them up. I cautiously said, "Hello." "Hello?" "Alex, it's me, Tori." "Tori? Oh my goodness, it's really you. How have you been? How come the new number?" "I know, it's been too long. I lost my phone and had to get a new one. Also, it helped that I lost my phone right around the time I graduated high school." "I'm so sorry, I haven't kept in touch. Life got busy and I let time slip away." "Don't worry. I've been swamped too, you know. Even keeping up with my own mum was tough." "So how come the sudden call?" "I picked a university in Florida, Alex. I'm actually in Florida now." "No way! That's amazing! I'm so happy you're close by. We have to meet." "I was hoping you'd say that. I've missed you so much. Can we really meet up?" "Of course! Let's make plans. I can't wait to see you again." "Me too! It's going to be awesome catching up." We set a date for that weekend. I thought that it was a perfect time because Caleb would be home that weekend. After a little more conversation, I realized that Tori's university was only an hour's drive away from my place, so we could meet up a lot more. That night, I called Caleb to tell him the news. Caleb acted indifferent to it. I got upset. "Why aren't you excited about meeting Tori?"
Excited after all this time? It took some time, but I realized I'd never be a priority for you. I mean, you kept me hidden from someone so important to you for so long with some dumb excuse.
That's not true. I don't think me feeling uncomfortable about something is dumb. Can't we just forget about it for now? I still want you both to meet.
Doesn't matter now.
Okay, well, could you at least just treat me nicely when Tori's here? I don't want her to see our problems.
Oh, so now you're worried about appearances. When will you be real with her, huh?
It's not about that, Caleb. I want her to know the good parts of us.
Good parts, huh? Guess that's not much these days.
Caleb, wait. I didn't understand why Caleb was being so difficult. I didn't ask anything absurd of him. I would have said the same thing to him had any other family member of mine come to visit us. I didn't dwell on it any longer. I realized it only made me feel worse when I dwelled on Caleb's questionable behavior and remarks. When that weekend arrived, I greeted Tori with the biggest hug. I teared up when I saw how grown up Tori was. The two of us were alone for a good 2 hours before Caleb showed up from his trip. In those 2 hours, the two of us caught up on a lot of things that we missed out on. We laughed and cried together as we reminisced about our past. When Caleb returned home, he went straight to the bedroom to freshen up. When he came back into the living room, he approached me and kissed me before he introduced himself to Tori. Tori's face twisted into confusion as she shook his hand.
How have you been, Tori?
I've been all right.
Well, that's good to hear. You know, I always wanted to meet you. Alex talks so highly about you, but she never let me meet you before.
Yeah, I've been meaning to see you too, so I'm glad we finally got the chance.
Which university are you attending?
I'm going to New College of Florida.
Oh, really?
Sorry, but you look familiar. I can't quite place where I might have seen you. Where could you possibly have seen him, Tori? I'm not sure. He just looks familiar. I looked over at Caleb, and I saw that he looked very panicked. He was sweating a lot, and he was trembling. I asked him if everything was okay. Caleb was just about to answer when Tori gasped and pulled out her phone. I looked at Caleb and Tori in confusion. I asked Tori and Caleb for an explanation. Caleb didn't say anything and instead tried to get up and leave, but Tori told him that he was not leaving any time soon. I raised my brow at her. Tori then showed me her phone and told me to scroll through the photos. In those photos I saw text between two people that seemed like they were a couple. I didn't understand as yet and asked Tori what the meaning behind all this was. I had made a friend in university, and when we went to this party at college, my friend ended up spilling that she was seeing this older man whose name was Caleb. My friend showed me multiple pictures of her man, and that's why Caleb looked so familiar. Is what Tori is saying true?
Are you really going to believe the words of someone who's practically a child over your husband's?
You're just being a coward and not admitting it even when there is proof of your text with my friends.
Look, there's no way for you to prove that it was me. The messages only have a contact name and no number proof, so you can't say that it is me.
She then showed me pictures of her friend on dates with Caleb. My heart broke with every picture I saw. Why had Caleb done this? What I have ever done to deserve this? I knew that we had been struggling in the past few years, but I had always hoped that it would have been only a rough patch and that the two of us could work through it. I turned to Caleb with tears in my eyes and asked him how long the affair had been going on. Caleb looked away and did not answer. Tori looked at him with disgust and said that as far as she knew, it had been going on for 2 years. I felt my heart break. Was that why Caleb wanted to work extra hours? Was he always working extra hours, or was he busy seeing another girl? Just then another question struck my mind. The thought of asking that question made me feel very queasy, but I knew I had to ask it for my own sanity. I asked Tori how old her friend was. Tori told me with disgust that her friend was the same age as her. I did not want to see Caleb anymore. Not only had he been cheating on me, but he'd been doing it with a minor. There was one thing I was sure of. This was not the man I had fallen in love with. I went to our bedroom and packed a bunch of Caleb's stuff. I threw his bags at his face and told him to get lost. He didn't even try to protest it. Once he left, I ran straight to the bathroom to throw up. The disgust of my husband's actions overwhelmed me. I cried for a while, and Tori held me. Tori stayed with me that week. I immediately filed for divorce and found a good lawyer to report him for his crime of dating and sleeping with a minor. Caleb tried hard to fight against everything that I had filed against him, but the courts ruled in my favour. Not only was I granted a majority of our assets, but the court had also found Caleb guilty of his crime. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and was asked to pay a fine of $10,000. I felt vindicated. My years of suffering finally came to an end. I was beyond disgusted to have loved a man who was capable of doing something as horrible as what Caleb had done. I was glad that he was punished appropriately. I took comfort in the knowledge that Caleb would always be registered as a sex offender and that the rest of his life would suffer in quality. It took another 2 years to heal, but I managed to grow from my past. I moved back to my home state and spent time recovering with my close friends and family. In the end, it was my family that had always had my back and given me back the joy in my life. I share this story with you to hopefully remind you that no matter what life throws you, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm still healing, but I'm no longer plagued by the memories of Caleb's deception. Thank you so much for listening.